My wife Daniella sent me a picture of a brand new sports automobile as a wedding anniversary gift, with a weird young man next to it. My phone vibrated again before I could answer. My helper sent me a message. We have confirmed it. President Chan Madam purchased Calvin, an intern, a Porsche. It cost $2.3 million came from the company's account. I looked at that bright picture and called Daniella. My voice was steady. Good vehicle. Where's mine? Daniella's voice on the other end of the line sounded familiar. Impatience that is condescending. You're a mature man. Can you quit being so materialistic? A car can drive as long as it can drive. That's all. Don't constantly comparing yourself to other people. Chapter 1. Mr. Chan, are you sure you want this one? As if he was frightened I would alter my mind at any moment. The sales manager carefully affirmed again, and beads of sweat gathered on his forehead. This Phantom, which is fully set up, costs $13.8 million. Right now, our dealership only has this one unit in stock. I didn't say anything. I just grabbed a black card out of my suit's inner pocket and put it on the table in front of him. Swipe it. And I just have one thing I need. Please tell us what you want. We'll make it happen no matter what. The sales manager immediately bowed forward, almost bowing. I pointed to the window that went from the floor to the ceiling. The Porsche that Daniella's little brother Calvin had just driven was not far away. Was going away and out of sight. I said in a flat voice, I want to drive this car and get to my wife's company in an hour. No problem, Mr. Chan. I'll take care of everything right away. I promise you'll be the sales manager looked like he had just been given a pardon when you drove your new automobile within an hour. Holding on to the card he almost rushed away. I was the only one in the VIP lounge. The metropolis outside the glass was loud. I was still getting ready on our 5th wedding anniversary 30 minutes ago. I had finished my work vacation abroad. Early and hadn't told Daniella yet. Wanted to surprise her. I purposely went to this auto brand center that she loved the best. Intending to buy up a rare sports automobile she had been talking about for a long time. But what I was waiting for wasn't a surprise. It was a big surprise. I observed my wife Daniella grasping the arm of a young man with my own eyes. Almost 10 years younger than her. And they both smiled brightly as they got out of a brand new Porsche. I know that guy. Calvin was a new intern at her workplace. Sweet-talking with fair skin. Daniella had spoken kind things about him to me more than once. Saying he was knowledgeable and caring. I was standing behind the glass that went from floor to ceiling on the 2nd floor. A bucket of cold water soaked the rage in my chest before it could even start to burn. I heard the manager of the lobby downstairs speak to Daniella boss with respect. Are you happy with the car? Mr. Calvin really likes it. Doesn't he? Daniella stared at Calvin like a woman in love. The love and desire in her gaze was something she had never given me before. The only thing that matters is that he likes it. Calvin put his arm around he kissed Daniella on the face and put his arms around her waist. His voice wasn't too loud or too soft. It was just right for me to hear. The crowd. Thanks, Daniella. You're so nice to me. You silly boy. It's only an automobile. Your sister will get you. Something much better will come along. Vale, my helper, stood behind me and hardly breathed. I watched the loving couple below without showing any emotion. Then I took out my phone and sent my assistant a message. Find out who paid for that car. Vale answered in less than 5 minutes. President Chan, it's official. Madam paid in full with the company's emergency fund account. $2.3 million. I read that line of text and started to giggle. The corporate contingency fund account was one of our joint marital assets. You might claim that every penny of profit that company made came from my blood and effort. For her sake, I had moved away from the spotlight and was happy to stay out of it, becoming the shadow beneath her halo. As a successful businesswoman, I let her be the chairwoman, the legal representative, and talk well in front of the media. Everyone was praising and admiring me, and I thought it was love and happiness. It seemed like I had just constructed her a palace with my own hands, a place where she could do whatever she wanted. She kept me in there like a clown, ready to be thrown out at any time. My phone buzzed. Daniella sent me a photograph. Calvin was in the driver's seat of the Porsche in the shot. With a big smile and a V sign in front of the camera, the caption said, "Hubby, I've gotten you a gift for your wedding anniversary." She didn't even attempt to come up with a new explanation. She just utilized a gift designed to get rid of me. Right after that, her call came through. "Hubby, did you see the picture I sent you?" She remarked with a note of pride in her voice. "Do you like it? It's our 5th wedding anniversary gift." I strolled to a corner of the lounge, lowered my voice, and attempted to sound natural. "Nice automobile. Where's mine? What's my gift?" There was a short delay on the other end, and then Daniella's voice became impatient. "What do you mean, James? I gave you a nice car and you're still not happy? You're an adult, so please stop being so greedy. It's enough that a car can drive. Don't always compare yourself to others. And besides, isn't your Toyota still functioning well? What's wrong with not being so flashy? People would think we're crazy affluent." I felt nothing but irony when she scolded me for being right. Yes, I had been driving that Toyota for 5 years. My dad gave it to me as a wedding gift. I had made more than 100 Toyotas for this family in those 5 years. And what did I get in return? She used our split money to buy a sports automobile for more than $2 million for a pretty, then she turned around and called me materialistic and competitive. "Daniella," I interrupted her and said, "Do you really think I'm that easy to fool?" The line became silent. A few seconds later, she laughed coldly. "James, what kind of nonsense are you up to now? It's just a car. Is this really necessary? If you really want it that much, I'll get one for you tomorrow. Happy now?" "No need," I responded plainly. "Your gift is too expensive, and I'm afraid I can't accept it." I hung up after that. "Mr. Chan, everything is finished. The processes are done, and the car is ready for you." The sales manager jogged up and handed over the car keys and a gold-embossed VIP card with both hands. "This is our best black and gold card. From now on, every time you buy something at any retailer under the group will get the best service." I accepted the keys, rose up, and said, "Thank you." When I sat in the driver's seat of the brand new Phantom and breathed in the smell of fresh leather, my heart felt calmer than ever. I sat in the brand new Phantom and breathed in the smell of fresh leather that only comes with a new automobile. My heart felt more at ease than ever. "Daniella, the drama you directed yourself. It's time for it to finish. I'll be the one to draw the curtain down." Chapter 2. Daniella's corporate headquarters were in the downtown financial sector, which was the most prosperous area. I had personally approved the purchase of this building back then. Now it was a sign of Daniella's identity as a business queen. The Phantom, which was valued more than $13 million, was parked in front of the building. Like a quiet, graceful animal that got everyone's attention right away. The security guy knew who I was, and he also, when he saw me get out of this top-of-the-line luxury car, he knew it was the old Toyota I'd been driving for 5 years. Chan's face was more colorful than a painter's palette. "Chan. Chan," I nodded at Mr. Chan and threw him the keys to the car. "Park it for me," I said. Then I walked directly to the door. Daniella's company had an important product launch event today. The media were all over the place, and there were many key visitors at the event. I didn't have an invitation, but the people at the door knew who I was. They looked surprised and unsure of what to do, but it didn't last long. They turned into professional smiles in less than 3 seconds. "Mr. Chan, you're here." I went straight into the hall. The launch event was almost over. Daniella stood on stage in a nicely fitted white suit, looking confident. She spoke elegantly and fluently. The audience exploded in thunderous ovation. She was always like this, radiant. Forever the focus of attention. I had become used to standing in the shadows and clapping for her. I looked over the gathering and instantly spotted the young man I was looking for. Calvin was dressed in a fine suit. A staff badge dangling from his chest as he stood in the front row and looked at Daniella on stage. With no hiding his feelings. He appeared like the most devoted believer praying to his God. I came over gently and sat down. Sat down on the unoccupied seat next to him. Calvin appeared to detect something and turned his head. As soon as he saw my face, his pupils contracted quickly, and all the color left his face. Chan. President Chan, he stammered, and worry and anxiety filled his eyes. I smiled at him, but it wasn't a kind grin. Little Calvin, what a coincidence. My voice wasn't loud, yet it sounded like a thunderclap to him. His body shook violently. His lips shook, but he couldn't say a word. Relax. I tapped him on the shoulder. The force wasn't strong, but his whole body stiffened right away. It's good for young people to have goals. But you have to go the proper way. Don't you agree? Calvin's temples were covered with cold sweat. He didn't want to look at me. His eyes were fixated on the tips of his shoes as if they held some rare gem. Daniella seemed to notice the trouble on stage. When our eyes met in midair, her smile froze for a second. But she rapidly got used to it and kept speaking. But this time she was going much quicker than before. I looked away from her, moved in closer to Calvin's ear, and murmured something that only the two of us could hear. How does that Porsche feel to drive? Calvin's body shook uncontrollably, as if he had been hit by electricity. He looked at me in shock and panic, his face full of fear. I don't know what you're talking about. He murmured, continued trying to fight back in vain. I laughed and said, you don't know I took my phone out of my pocket. He opened the picture Daniella had sent me, waving it in front of his face. Isn't this you in the picture you sent me? Saying it was a gift for my wedding anniversary. Should I thank her? Calvin's face was no longer, it wasn't simply pale. It was the hue of death, an ashen gray. He glanced at me and opened and closed his mouth. But he couldn't hear anything. Fear gripped his throat like an invisible hand. President Chan. I was wrong. He finally gave, and his voice shook with tears. I didn't mean to, it was Daniella who, Sure. I raised a finger to stop him. It's too late to say any of that now. I rose up and adjusted my suit. Daniella had finished her speech and was talking to some important visitors on stage. Her eyes kept darting in my direction. I stretched my hand toward her and gave her a bright, dazzling grin. I was filled with worry and anger. Then, with everyone watching in shock, I took a step forward, one at a time, and walked toward the main stage of the premiere ceremony. I was going to tell everyone who the actual star of this play was. Chapter 3. As soon as I got onto the main stage, the whole place went quiet. All the cameras, all the flashing lights, and all the eyes were all on me. Daniella's face became pale right away. She ran toward me to attempt to stop me, pasting a fake smile on her face. Hubby, why are you here? You should have told me ahead of time. She tried to loop her arm with mine, but I moved to the side and avoided her touch. I removed the microphone from the host and checked the sound. Hello everyone, I said, as my voice came over the speakers loud and clear. A wave of whispers spread across the audience, and everyone stared at me with interest and suspicion. They knew Daniella, the up-and-coming queen of the business world. But they didn't know me, this strange person she called her husband. Daniella's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. She held my arm hard and spoke in a low voice. She said in a voice that was almost begging, James, what are you trying to do? Don't make a scene here. Let's go home and talk. Okay, go home. I smiled at her. Which home? The one you bought for Calvin? Or the one that just lives in name? Daniella's body tightened violently as she looked at me in shock. How do you know if you don't want people to know? Don't do it in the first place. I shook her hand off and I moved to the center of the stage and cleared my throat. I spoke loudly to the hundreds of guests and reporters below. Sorry to interrupt. My name is James Chan and I am Daniella's husband. Everyone in the audience went very quiet. They all held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Today is a big day for Daniella's business. It's also our 5th wedding anniversary. I stopped looking at the audience and finally settled on Calvin, whose face had turned ghostly white. My wife, Ms. Daniella, just gave me a pretty substantial gift for our wedding anniversary. I held out my phone and sent the picture of Calvin standing next to the Porsche to the big screen behind me. A Porsche for 3 million. I absolutely love it. Boom. The whole place went crazy. People bent their necks to look at the bright picture on the screen, then at me on stage, and finally at Daniella, whose face now looked like ashes. Flashbulbs went crazy, and shutter clicks kept going on and on. Every reporter could scent a huge controversy. Mr. Chan, who is the man in the picture? What is his relationship with Daniella? Is what your husband told true? Did you actually use corporate funds to buy another man a car? You used money to buy another man a car. Is this an affair? Are you getting a divorce? The stinging questions were like blades, stabbing right at Daniella. She stood there, lips shaking and unable to say a word. In that moment, all of her poise and grace fell apart. I ignored the reporters and kept talking. A lot of you might not realize this, but everything Daniella has today, including this building and this firm, is the after we were married. We worked together to make this happen. I happily stepped back to help her career, and I gave her full control of the company and let her use all of my patented inventions for free. I thought that by making sacrifices, I would get a happy, whole family. My voice was just right. I thought I was getting a little hoarse and sad. But I was incorrect. My compromise and sacrifice didn't earn appreciation. It earned betrayal. We worked hard for the money, and she used it to support an intern who was 10 years younger than her. Then she turned around and blamed me of being materialistic and concerned with comparisons. I laughed at myself when I heard it. Before coming here, I phoned her and told her I wanted to get a new car. She told me that a car was simply a way to get around and that I shouldn't be vain. But as soon as she turned around, she bought her pretty boy a sports automobile for more than $2 million. Is that fair? My comments hit the gathering like a huge bomb. People looked at Daniella, who was barely standing, with anger and scorn. The successful businesswoman persona was phony. How disgusting. Someone yelled first, and then curses started flying from all sides. Daniella staggered, almost unable to stand. Her assistant and a few executives ran up on stage, protecting her as they sought to take her away from this scene of total shame. I watched coldly as she was surrounded by others and taken away in shame. I knew that from that day on, the business queen character she had built up for years would be gone. Years of hard work would go to nothing, and this was just the beginning. I picked up the microphone again and I told all the reporters there that I was going to divorce Ms. James, Daniella, and I will get back everything that is rightfully mine through the courts, including thank you, I said, and then I put the microphone down. This company and all of my personal assets are mine. I turned back, kept my head up, and walked away from the location that was constantly being chased by flashing lights. I had just stepped out of the launch and was still carrying all my dreams and blood, sweat, and tears. Chapter 4. I didn't answer Daniella's call right away. I hung up and blocked her number right away. I answered the phone when an unknown number called. Daniella's panicked scream came through. James, you crazy person. You ruined me. You took everything I had and ruined you. I laughed coldly. Daniella, lay your palm on your heart and ask yourself, who ruined whom? It was you. You were the one who pushed our family and relationship straight into the abyss. James, what do you really want? Her voice shook with anxiety. Do you really have to make things this bad? Don't you feel anything at all after all these years as husband and wife? I felt like I had just heard the funniest joke of my life. When you held another man's arm and bought him $1 million luxury car, where was that marital bond when you used my money to keep a handsome lad and then left? You told me I was materialistic. Where was that marital bond? Daniella, stop pretending. It makes me sick. James's voice suddenly got higher and full with hatred. Don't get cocky. Do you think you've won? I am the chairperson and the legal representative of our corporation. You are nothing. Don't even think of taking a penny from me if we have a divorce. I'll make sure you depart with nothing. I chuckled gently, my voice dripping with hate. Daniella, have you forgotten how? Who formulated the business plan that led to the creation of this company? Who owns the fundamental technical patents? Got the first round of angel funding before the firm went public and broke past all the technical difficulties. I told those arrogant Wall Street investors to shut up. The line fell silent, and every question I asked hit like a hard hammer, smashing right into her heart. These were the things she had tried to forget on purpose, or the past she had tried to erase. Totally off my list of contributions. Daniella, you think too highly of yourself and too little of me. Did you really think I gave you the company so you could do anything you wanted? Let me tell you something. I can carry you up to the sky, and I can just as easily bring you down. I can take back all you have at any time. No. That's impossible. Panic filled her voice. Those patents and technologies, they were you don't have any proof. I laughed. Daniella, did you forget about the asset nominee agreement we signed back then? To put your mind at ease, I put all of my personal assets, including them, in the agreement. I put patents and shares in your name so you could hold them. The agreement makes it apparent that I am the real owner of such assets. James, you were just the nominal holder. There are 2 copies of that agreement. Mine is secured in a safe. This whole time in a Swiss bank's deposit box. Tell me, if I give that agreement to the court, who do you think the judge will believe? No. A cry of sheer sorrow erupted from the other end of the line. James, you plotted against me. You were planned this from the start. I scoffed bitterly. If you hadn't betrayed me first, I wouldn't have done this. That agreement would have stayed in the vault forever. You were the one who broke the last bit of confidence between us. James, you can't do this to me. We're married. Her voice got softer as she switched to emotional manipulation. Please, honey, I was wrong. I truly was wrong. Please give me one more chance. We won't get a divorce. We'll go back to how things were. Too late. I cut her off without mercy. From the moment you gave her the when I delivered the keys to that Porsche to another man, everything between us was over. I hung up before she could say anything else. I climbed into the Phantom and started the engine. The huge black car moved smoothly into the flow of traffic. The headquarters of Daniella's company got smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror until it was just a little black dot. Goodbye, my ex-lover. Goodbye, the 5 years of my youth that are now gone. From now on I will get back everything that is mine. Chapter 5. My legal team was incredibly quick. The day after I left the press conference, I got a very formal letter from a lawyer. Accompanied with a copy, the divorce lawsuit was sent directly to Daniella's desk. I also asked the court to keep the assets safe at the same time. Daniella's name is on all of the bank accounts and the real estate that she owns. The company she was so proud of that was listed on the stock exchange was fully frozen. This meant that she couldn't move a single dime. The whole corporate world was rattled when the news came out. The company's stock price fell sharply. Immediately, within less than half an hour of the market opening, it hit the daily limit down. The board of directors went into complete turmoil. My phone rang a lot. Some people called to ask me questions, some to beg, and some to dig. Leonardo, Daniella's father, was one of them. James, what precisely are you attempting to do? As soon as I answered, Leonardo started accusing me, and his tone was clearly angry. You've made Danny's business a mess. What good does that do for you? Couples fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot of it. If there's a problem, can't you just talk it out? Why take it all the way to court? I listened carefully to him, scolding without stopping. This father-in-law, who had been nice to me before, finally showed his true colors when it was important for my daughter and the family. After he was done, I said gently, Dad, you should be asking isn't it just a young person making a small mistake? Leonardo replied, brushing it off. A man should be open-minded. Danny was only a little bewildered. Give her a way out, and this will all blow away. I chuckled in rage for a moment because I was bewildered. Using marital funds to buy a pretty ladder luxury if I were having an affair now, that would be a momentary confusion for Dad. Would you still be brushing it off so easily? Leonardo was dumbfounded for a moment, then got angry out of humiliation. How can you compare yourself to Danny? She's a woman and the public face of the corporation. You've ruined her reputation totally. Who is going to pay for the company's losses? She brought it on herself. I answered coldly. You. Leonardo Koo was so angry he could barely speak. James, I'm caution you, don't push your luck. Don't forget who it was that moved you up from being a lowly coder to where you are now. Those comments cut right through my heart like a thorn. Without our Koo family, you'd be nothing. Yes, the Koo family would always see me as that poor nobody who had to depend on their charity. No matter how much I did for this corporation or this family, their deep-seated bias will never change. Dad, you must be wrong about something. My voice was as icy as ice. It wasn't your Koo family who raised me. I saved your Koo family's textile mill from going bankrupt. It was my technology that made it possible to build a whole new. The company came back to life because of a new type of cloth that made today's Alcade Group conceivable. Without me, your Koo family would still be fighting over bank loans worth a few million. You're talking nonsense. Leonardo's voice definitely didn't sound sure. He knew better than anyone if I was lying or not. I'm not calling today to fight with you, I replied plainly. I'm giving you two choices. First, let Daniella sign the divorce deal and give up all of your possessions, leaving you with nothing. For the sake of our past relationship, and yours, I cannot press charges against her for theft. Second, we'll meet in court. At that point, it won't only be a divorce. I'll also charge her with abusing her power and stealing money. She'll have to face more than just public shame. She'll also have to go to jail. You choose. I hung up. I knew Leonardo would make the correct choice. He knew better than anyone else that I always kept my promises. He understood even more that the whole Koo family would be over if Daniella Koo went to jail. Chapter 6 showed that I had still underestimated how shameless the Koo family could be. That same afternoon, Daniella's lawyer called me and said she was willing to chat. The meeting spot was a private room in a fancy club. When I got there, Daniella and her father, Leonardo, were already there. And her mother Jennifer were already there. Daniella looked a lot worse after just a few days. Her eyes were sunken in, and the light that used to shine in them was gone. The moment she saw me walk in, she suddenly sprang up. Her eyes were bloodshot as she gazed at me hard. James, do you really have to be this cruel? I didn't pay attention to her and sat down on the couch across from them. My legal team stood behind me. I said plainly, you should already know what my terms are. Leonardo kept his expression somber and didn't say anything. My mother-in-law Jennifer was the first to speak. She put on the mask of a loving mother. Her voice shook as her eyes turned red. James, I know Danny hurt you. She made a mistake. We already told her off. For my sake and your father's, think about the 5 years you were married and let her off this time. Wife, and let her off this time. She's a woman after all. What good does it do you to force her into a dead end? She brushed away tears as she spoke, and her act seemed very real. If I hadn't known this family so well, I might have been moved by what she did. I responded calmly to Mom, that's enough. Today we're just talking about terms, not sentiments. Your daughter repressed any feelings she had. Jennifer's face went blank. The sadness went away right away, and it was replaced by anger and hatred. Don't push your luck. What makes our Danny unworthy of you? If it weren't for our family, you'd still be hammering away at code in some tiny company. You work on coding for a small company. The Koo family gives you everything you eat, wear, and use. Now that you've developed wings, you want to bite back. You ungrateful wretch, Mom. Daniella yelled sharply, cutting her off. She realized that making me angry now would do them no good at all. James. Daniella took a deep breath, as if she had made a big decision. I agree to the divorce. I arched an eyebrow since I was a little astonished. But she kept altering her tone. I own the company, so I won't give it to you. I can pay you $50 million, and the flat in the city will be yours too. This is the most I can give in. The lawyers behind me couldn't help but laugh out loud when she said this. I chuckled too. Are you kidding me, Daniella? The Alcade Group is worth more than $10 billion right now. And you think 50 million is enough to send me away? Have you forgotten that 90% of you just hold the company's shares for me? Your so-called pay is just a way to buy me off with my own money. Daniella's expression got darker. James, don't go too far. That nominee agreement is not genuine. As husband and wife, we should split our property in half. Is that right? I pointed to Lawyer Wang behind me. Lawyer Wang understood right away. He pulled a document out of his briefcase and put it on the table. You may not know much about the applicable laws. Ku. He pushed his glasses up. Lawyer Wang spoke slowly. The law says that one spouse's personal property does not automatically become joint marital property, since the marriage is still going on, unless both parties agree to something otherwise. The asset nominee agreement you signed with Mr. Chan is exactly the kind of legally binding, otherwise agreed arrangement. The agreement makes it plain that all of Mr. Chan's personal property before he got married. Mr. Chan will always own all of his assets, including all of his patents and equity, not tied to the marriage. In other words, Mr. Alcade Group's main assets have always been Chan's own property from start to finish. You were just the nominal manager. That's impossible. Daniella snatched the paper and shook with fear as she read the stipulations. This agreement is bogus. She yelled, "You forged it." Ms. Ku, please watch what you say, Lawyer Wang remarked coldly. This agreement was signed in front of a notary public, thus it is legally binding. If you don't believe it is real, we can take it to court, but I have to remind you that making fake notarized documents is a crime. Daniella's final bit of optimism was gone. She fell into the couch, her face pale. Leonardo's face grew just as serious. He had never thought that the son-in-law he had always looked down on would leave himself such a. He thought he had complete control from the start, but he soon realized he was just a pawn in someone else's game. James, Leonardo asked in a raspy and shaky voice, "What do you want?" I made my terms very clear. I stepped up and looked down at them. You can leave with nothing or rot in jail. I'll give you 1 day to think it over. By this time tomorrow, I want to see Daniella sign the divorce papers. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with the repercussions. With that, I left the private room with my legal team. I knew it. I had already won this war. I assumed Daniella would finally give up. Once again, reality made me realize how shameless she could be. The next day, she didn't send me a signed divorce paperwork. Instead, I got an unexpected visitor. Calvin, the pretty lad Daniella had been hiding. He wanted to meet me at a cafe. He looked like he hadn't slept well in days and was completely worn out. He said, "President Chan." When he saw me standing up awkwardly and not even looking up, I gently pointed to the chair and lifted my coffee cup to my lips. "What do you want with me?" Calvin took a long time to remove an envelope out of his backpack and slide it over the table. "President Chan, within this is proof that Daniella stole money from the company." I raised an eyebrow but didn't open the package. He went on in a hushed voice, "She didn't just buy me a car. She rented me an apartment and gave me hundreds of dollars. She gave him thousands of dollars a month as an allowance. She also bought her brother a villa with company money and replaced her parents' automobiles with luxurious ones." His speech got quieter and quieter, as his head sank lower and lower. I took pictures of all the transfer records. I looked at him and thought it was funny all of a sudden. "What do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to let you off the hook? Are you attempting to get one more payment from me?" Calvin's cheeks turned deep red. He quickly raised his head and rushed to explain. "No, that's not what I mean, President Chan. I just don't want her to use me anymore. She came to me yesterday and urged me to lie under oath. She wanted me to say that you were abusive and that you had a history of domestic violence, and claimed you were cheating on her with other women. She wanted me to help her smear you. She warned that if I did, she would give me another $5 million. I was scared. I don't want to go to prison." His voice shook with tears. He looked sad and pathetic. This was the man Daniella had picked. He was spineless, opportunistic, and had no morals at all. The first thing that came to mind when calamity struck was selling out his benefactor to rescue himself. "President Chan, I know I was wrong. Please be kind and let me go. I'm ready to go to court and tell the truth about everything Daniella has done." He fell to his knees with a loud bang. People at the cafe started giving us funny looks. I grimaced and got up. "Get up," I said. "Don't embarrass yourself here." I took a bunch of cash out of my wallet and threw it on the table. "I don't need this proof. And whatever happened between you and Daniella has nothing to do with me. Take care of yourself." I turned around and went away. I didn't need to use such horrible tactics to win this lawsuit. I already had more than enough proof to absolutely destroy Daniella. When I saw Calvin, I didn't even give him a second thought. As soon as I left the cafe, my phone rang. It was Lawyer Wang. President Chan, there has been new movement on Daniella's side. Wang stated his tone was serious. She gave the court new proof that you had been abusing her for a long time. She was a victim of psychological abuse and domestic violence during their marriage. A psychologist also gave her a diagnosis that said she is quite depressed. She has also bought out some of the company's senior veterans and is getting ready to eliminate them altogether. I paused in my steps and my stare grew frigid. Good. Very good. Daniella, you truly won't stop till you see the coffin. If you want to keep playing, I'll continue until the finish. I hung up and called another number right away. Chris, it's me, James. I need a favor. Keep accurate records of all the transactions our company has made in foreign accounts over the past few years, along with my private emails with those big powers on Wall Street. Yes, the more specific, I want some people to know who the genuine owner of this company is. Chapter 8. It felt like water may flow from the air at Alcade Group's emergency board meeting. Daniella sat at the head of the table in a chair. Her face was tired, but her eyes were strangely determined, even a little crazy. Next to her were a few of the company's top executives, veterans who had fought with me to establish the business from the ground up. They were now the weapons Daniella was deploying against me when I went into the meeting room. All eyes were on me. Some were sympathetic, some were happy to see me suffer, and some didn't care. And some with guilt. James, you still have the nerve to show up as Director Liu, an old subordinate of Leonardo's, was the first to jump out and assault. You've turned the company into a complete mess and the stock price has dropped like a rock. How can you still be here? I ignored him and proceeded straight to my seat, which was directly next to Daniella's. Daniella remarked coldly, "Okay, since everyone is here, let's get started. There is only one thing on the agenda for this emergency board meeting." She stopped and looked at him with a stern glance, stabbing directly at me. To get rid of James from all of his jobs at the company and to ask the board for permission to do so. James's plan to divide their assets in a divorce. As soon as she was done talking, Director Liu repeated what she had said. I believe that James has major moral problems and a messy personal life. He has already done serious harm. He has hurt the organization's reputation, and I believe that he should not be allowed to work for the company. Another director raised his hand, and one after the other, 5 or 6 filmmakers said they were in favor. They were either loyal to the Koo family or persons Daniella Koo had paid off with interest. Daniella's expression grew smug. She glanced at me in a way that made it clear she was trying to get a rise out of me, as if to say, "So what if you have a nominee agreement? This company is mine now." I didn't say anything. I just watched them perform in quiet. It wasn't until everyone who backed her had left that I said something. I cautiously opened my mouth once they were done talking. "Are you done?" My voice wasn't loud, but it made the whole room quiet right away. "If you're done, it's my turn." I plugged my laptop into the projector in the conference room, and the enormous screen filled up right away. Received a lot of English emails. "Before you vote, directors, I want you to look at something." I opened the first email. This is a private email conversation I had with Mr. Lopez 3 years ago, the Asia-Pacific president of Goldman Sachs, as the company was getting ready to go public on Nasdaq. Our IPO application was put on hold because there were problems with the shareholding structure. It was Mr. Lopez who used his contacts to get rid of the problems for us. And the only reason he was willing to help had nothing to do with Ms. Daniella's charm. It wasn't because Alcade Group's future looked good. It was just because I helped him out with a minor favor when he was having a hard time. I then opened the second email. It was sent 2 years ago by a European luxury company that was our competitor. The LVM Group tried to take over in a violent way. I used a patent for an eco-friendly cloth technology that they needed to get that patent from our company so badly that they had to give up on the purchase. But the company didn't own the patent. "This is mine." Next, I opened a third page, which had a complicated diagram of how money moves. And this too. Alcade Group's rise to its current size has depended a lot on money from outside the country. But those investors didn't choose us because Ms. Daniella's business proposal was very well written. They chose us because all of the people who manage that money are my pals. They weren't putting money into Alcade Group. They were putting money into me, James. With every word I said, Daniella's and the directors' faces next to her got whiter. The meeting room fell into a deathly quiet. Everyone was speechless after I unleashed a succession of nuclear bombs. These were the company's deepest secrets. Secrets, things that Daniella had always tried to hide and take away from me. She assumed that if she kicked me out, she could relax and enjoy the fruits without anxiety. She was way too naive. Now I stood up and looked at all the directors in the room. I'll give you all another chance to choose, I said. Pick a so-called queen who steals company money, breaks trust, and will only lead the company to the bottom. Or pick me, the one who can give this business actual worth and a real future. It's up to you. After I spoke, I stopped looking at them and instead gazed at Daniella, whose face had gone absolutely white. I remarked to Daniella in a calm voice, "You've lost." "No, I haven't lost," she said. Daniella instantly jumped up and started shouting like a crazy person. "James, don't even think about it. This firm is mine. No one can take it away from me. It's like a gambler who lost all of his chips." Her eyes were bloodshot as she scowled at me. "Directors, don't believe him. Everything he stated is a lie. He made it all up." But this time no one repeated what she said. The directors who had promised their commitment to just a few moments earlier, they shrank back like quails trying to avoid my stare and not daring to meet my eyes. People in business were the smartest of all. They could easily discern who was really in charge of the Alcade Group ship. This ship could go over at any time without me. "Ms. Koo, please calm down." Lawyer Wang stood forward. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear that he was in charge. "These emails and documents are real. Be able to be checked by any third-party institution at any time. I think Goldman Sachs and the LVM Group would also be able to do this. Be more than happy to help with an investigation." Lawyer Wang's statements were the last straw that broke Daniella. She fell back into her chair, her body going limp, and whispered to herself, "It's over, it's all over." I said calmly, "Let's vote again." This time, there was no dispute about the outcome. All the directors except for Daniella and Director Liu voted for me. James took full control of the Alcade Group again with a huge majority. After the meeting, the directors came over to me one by one to congratulate me, even though they had just tried to get rid of me. I shook hands with each of them and smiled politely. I knew these folks weren't trustworthy. But for now, I needed them to help the company get back on its feet. Once everyone else had departed, only Daniella and I were left in the conference room. She looked like a statue without a soul, sitting there blankly. I moved over to her and put a divorce agreement on the table in front of her. It was already signed with my name. I put the agreement, which had my name on it, on the table in front of her. "Sign it." Daniella gently raised her head and stared at me. Her eyes were full of hate and refusal. "James, you're really callous. We're even." I answered coldly. "I think I've been more than kind to you, given that you betrayed me and tried to leave me with nothing." "I won't sign it." Daniella quickly ripped up the paper. "I'd rather die than let you have your way. I'll make this last forever and let everyone know you're a horrible man who left his wife. Do what you like." I shrugged and didn't care at all. "But I should tell you that your nice little brother Calvin went to the police today. He turned himself in this morning and told the police everything, including how you stole money from the company and kept him on the side. He even gave very detailed records and proof of the transfer. So, when do you suppose that the police will come and want you to talk?" Daniella's pupils shrank sharply. "No. Impossible. How would he dare? Why wouldn't he?" I said with a sneer. "Do you think he loved you? He only liked your money. Now that you can't even protect yourself, of course he's looking for a new way out. Oh, and one more thing. I've already told that the company's legal department has been told to formally report you to the police for abusing your power and stealing money. The amount is more than 50 million. I think that's enough to lock you in jail for 10 years or more. Now, do you still think you can drag this out with me? Daniella's body started to shake uncontrollably. She glanced at me like a leaf in the wind. Fear swept over her like a tide that fully took her over. This time, her eyes really begged. Hubby, no, James, I was wrong. I was totally incorrect. She fell to her knees with a thud, holding on to my leg and crying. Please let me go. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want anything anymore, not even the company. The house, the money, you can take it all. Please drop the charges. I glanced down at the woman who had once been above everyone else and now lay in dust at my feet. I didn't feel anything. If she knew this would happen, why did she do what she did? I kicked her away. I pulled out another copy of the divorce paperwork from my briefcase and placed it in front of her. Sign it, I said. This is your last chance. Chapter 10. Daniella finally signed the divorce papers. She chose public shame over prison. The day after the deal was signed, we went to the civil affairs office to formalize the divorce. I got the divorce certificate as soon as I left the building. My feelings were all over the place. 5 years of marriage suddenly ended like that. There was no hesitation or longing, simply the freedom that came with it. I dropped the allegations against Daniella. I thought it was the final bit of respect I could show her and the last kind thing I could do for our dead relationship. But the truth about her stealing money couldn't be hidden long. To calm down angry shareholders, the board kicked her out of the company totally, asked her to give back all the things she had stolen. Overnight, Daniella went from being a corporate queen worth tens of billions of dollars to an ordinary person drowning in debt. All of her expensive homes and cars were sold to pay off her debts. Of billions to a regular individual who was deep in debt. She sold all of her expensive residences and cars to pay off her debts. People said that she moved back in with her parents and cried every day, unwilling to leave the house. Calvin, the intern, didn't get in trouble with the law because he turned himself in and helped out. But he lost all of his good reputation in the sector, and he couldn't find a good position anywhere. He even sold the Porsche he used to show off on a second-hand vehicle website for a very low price. I was in the middle of signing a new investment deal when my assistant informed me all of this. I had just bought a well-known European designer brand and was getting ready to launch it in the US as Alcade Group's next big growth engine. President Chan, here's your coffee, a clear, sweet voice said next to me. I looked up and saw she was a new intern, around 20 years old, with a nice ponytail. Her eyes were big and beautiful, like stars were hiding inside them. Thank you, I said, as I took the coffee and smiled at her. The girl turned a little scarlet and looked down shyly. President Chan, you're my idol, she said. I've seen all of your past interviews, and I think you're amazing. I was really surprised. Yes, she nodded vigorously. I watched the ones from your early startup days. You've seen my interviews. I don't do them very often. Even when the company was still little, every word you said had a lot of power. You remarked that operating a business is like being you have to stay grounded and do what you know is right. I've always recalled that. I glanced at her. At the pure I saw pure awe and respect in her eyes, and something moved in my heart. This is how Daniella used to look at me. But time and an infinite hunger changed everything. I asked, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Francesca." I said softly, "Francesca. That's a lovely name," I told her. "Work hard and go after your dreams. But always remember, never lose yourself merely to take shortcuts." Francesca nodded, but I didn't really understand. I watched her walk away. I instantly felt like life had gotten a little bit brighter. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Lawyer Wang. I frowned and said, "No meeting. President Chan Leonardo and his wife want to see you." There was nothing else to say between them and me. But a few minutes later, Lawyer Wang called. "President Chan, they are downstairs at the office. They stated they will kneel at the door and not go if you don't see them." I pinched the bridge of my nose, getting more and more angry. Let them come up. I wanted to see what the two shameless parents were going to do next. Chapter 11. When Jennifer and Leonardo came into my office, it appeared like both of them had aged 10 years overnight. Most of Leonardo's hair had turned white, and his back was slumped over. All the power he used to have was gone. Jennifer looked much worse. Her eye bags were puffy. Her face was full of deep lines, and she looked tired. When they saw me, Jennifer went to her knees with a thud. "James, please help Danny." She wailed hysterically, and her sobs broke my heart. Leonardo's eyes also turned red. His lips shook as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't. I sat at my desk and looked at them coldly. I'm already divorced from her. What happens to her has nothing to do with me. How can that not have anything to do with you? Jennifer crept forward to clutch my leg, but my bodyguard stopped her. "James, Danny, she's not going to make it." My heart fell. "What do you mean?" "She is quite depressed. She shut herself in her room and wouldn't eat or drink or see anyone. She cut her wrists last night. If we hadn't found her in time, she would have already been dead." Jennifer cried. "The doctor indicated she has very serious mental health problems. If she is stimulated again, she could. I stopped talking. I didn't care about Daniella anymore. Hearing this still sparked something difficult inside me. After all, she was once the woman I loved dearly. "James, I know we were wrong." Before Leonardo finally spoke up. His voice was raspy and full of sadness. "We were blind, arrogant, and unfair to you. We let you down. We're not asking you to marry Danny again. We just want you to go see her and talk to her. She doesn't listen to anyone right now, except you. Your words might still reach her. Please, James. I'm pleading you as a parent. Save my daughter." This man, who was long into middle age and was so proud, said this. In front of me, he was bossy and bent his knees. I sighed and got up from my chair. "Get up," I said, and I went over and assisted them up. "I can go see her, but I'm only doing it as a last act of kindness. Don't get your hopes up." Sure, we get it." Leonardo and Jennifer nodded their heads over and over, as if holding on to the last straw of hope. I was in a bad mood on the way to the hospital. I didn't know if Daniella would end up like this because I was heartless, or because she did it to herself. It may have been both. Daniella lay on the bed in the hospital room with her face as white as paper. Her wrists were tied in thick bandages. When she saw me come in, the emptiness in her eyes lit up with a hint of emotion. "Why are you here?" Her voice was so feeble it sounded like smoke. "Did you come to laugh at me?" I didn't speak. I pulled up a chair and sat next to her bed. "Why did you do this?" Daniella asked, laughing quietly. The sound was full of sadness and misery. "I don't have anything left. The firm is gone, the money is gone, and my reputation is gone. What's the point of living? James, you won. Are you happy now?" She glared at me with hate in her eyes. "I never meant to beat you." I looked at her calmly and said, "I just wanted to get back what was mine." "What was yours?" Daniella got angry. "What right do you have to declare it was yours? Without me or the Koo family, do you think you'd be where you are now? You're just an ungrateful person who won't listen to her stubborn comments." I was merely sad. She still hadn't realized her faults, and she blamed every failure on my so-called betrayal. Never once thought about what she had done. "Daniella," I stood up and refused to debate anymore. "Just live. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. You're still young. There's a long road ahead. There is still hope as long as you are alive, even if you have nothing. If you die, there will be nothing left." I was about to leave when Daniella abruptly sprang up in bed and ripped the 4-needle out of her hand. She took a fruit knife from the bedside table and held it on her own neck. "James, if you dare to leave today," she said. Chapter 12. I'll die right in front of you. I stopped in my tracks and turned around to look at her coldly. "You think you can scare me into death?" Daniella's eyes were wide with fear for a second. Then she swiftly calmed down. The knife in her hand got even closer, and the sharp blade cut a shallow line of blood across her neck. "James, I'll ask you one final time. Are you willing to marry me again?" She shouted in a rough voice. "The company will continue be ours as long as you agree and we are still married. We can go back to how things were. I stared at her crazy face and felt nothing but silly. What did she think marriage was? A tool she could throw away anytime she wanted and take up again whenever she wanted. Impossible, I said firmly. The last bit of hope in Daniella's eyes broke. Despair and madness took over her completely. Fine, James. You made me do this. She yelled, I won't let you go even as a ghost, and tightened her grasp on the knife before cutting down hard. Don't! Leonardo and Jennifer yelled in despair from the doorway. At that very time I moved. I pushed forward in one step. I grasped her wrist and twisted it quickly. Ah! Daniella shouted in anguish when the fruit knife fell to the floor. I pushed her down into the bed, grabbed the knife and threw it far away. The whole thing happened in a flash. By the time Leonardo, Jennifer, and the doctors got there, it was already over. When the ruckus woke up the nurses and doctors, they ran into the room, but it was too late. Daniella was lying on the bed like a mound of muck, crying violently. The doctors quickly looked at her wounds and gave her a tranquilizer. I stepped to the side. Thank you, Mr. Chan. That was really risky, an older head nurse stated to me. I shook my head and said nothing. I watched as Daniella slowly calmed down as the sedative took effect. I didn't feel sorry for them at all. Someone who doesn't even care about their own life doesn't deserve anyone's sympathy. As soon as I left the ward, Leonardo and Jennifer approached me. James, thank you for saving Danny, they said. I cut them off. This is the last time I deal with her business. From now on, I don't care if she lives or dies. Take care of yourselves. I left the hospital without looking back. I didn't want to deal with this family anymore. Back at work, I shut myself in my office and smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. Daniella's craziness seemed like a thorn in my heart. I started to think about was it my early compromises and indulgences that let her feel free to behave without thinking? Or was it her growing ambition and yearning that made her forget herself? Maybe we were on the same path to start with. What I wanted was to be successful in my career and to realize my own worth. She wanted fame, position, and vanity, the thrill of being worshipped by the audience. When my light outshone hers and she thought I was getting in the way of her progress, betrayal was unavoidable. Ding! My phone rang with a news alert. Business queen Daniella is suspected of after a mental breakdown caused by problems in her marriage. She brandished a knife in a hospital and tried to hurt herself as things got out of hand. There were a few fuzzy pictures of me holding Daniella under the headline. I grimaced and called the PR department right away. Don't let any bad news about me go out. I don't want to see my name or picture on any media site. Yes, President Chan. After I hung up, I stroked my sore temples. This joke had to end right now. Chapter 13. Even though I tried hard to keep the news about Daniella's unsuccessful suicide attempt from getting out, it still caused a lot of trouble in a small group. For a while, rumors spread like wildfire. Some people believed I was cruel and ruthless and that I had pushed my ex-wife to the edge. Others said Daniella was to blame. A perfect case of a poisonous woman getting what she deserved. I didn't pay any attention to it. The innocent will show that they are innocent. Those that are tainted will stay tainted. I put all my energy into the company and wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. The bad effects this storm had on the firm. Alcade Group went through a big change when I was in charge. I got rid of all the Koo family supporters and internal parasites and brought in a new generation of capable, driven young people. I personally took a team to Europe to work closely with the designer brand I had bought. I also started a new public welfare project that said 10% of the company's profits for the next 3 years would go to help girls in poor areas who had dropped out of school. After a series of important actions, the stock price of Alcade Group ultimately stabilized and started to rise again. The company's public image slowly became better after the incident and rumors, and it was able to develop a good and responsible social reputation. The Alcade Group's full product launch went forward as planned a month later. This time I didn't stay behind the scenes. I went on stage myself, addressing hundreds of news sources and thousands of visitors to explain Alcade Group's plans for the future. I was calm, confident, and well-spoken in a deep blue tailored suit. Under the bright lights, I felt like I was looking at a new version of myself. The James who had once veiled his own light for love was no longer there. Now I was the head of Alcade Group, the person in charge who wanted to take this business to the top of the world. The debut ceremony was a huge success. The next day, every major financial news site had Alcade Group and I am on their main pages. Reborn from the ashes, James leads Alcade Group into a new era from behind the scenes to center stage. The legendary rise of business tycoon James the King returns. The market value of Alcade Group went increased by tens of billions of dollars overnight, making me the most talked about person in business. Every day, investors and possible partners lined up outside my office to meet me. My life seemed to be back on track, maybe even better than it had been previously. But in the calm of late nights, sometimes I felt a little lonely. It was almost midnight by the time I finished my work that night. When I left the office, I saw that my driver had already gone home. I was about to call a cab when a white Beetle came up in front of me. The window rolled down, and I saw Francesca's pretty face. "President Chan, you're still not going home?" "Yeah, I worked a little late," I said. I was a little startled. "What about you? It's so late. Why haven't you gone home yet?" I was also working late. Francesca grinned shyly. "There's a proposal due tomorrow, and I wanted to make it look better. Get in." "President Chan, I'll take you home." I thought about it for a second before opening the door and getting in. There was a faint, nice gardenia smell inside the automobile. I inquired, "Where do you live?" Francesca said while she was driving, "I'm renting a place." "Where's your hometown?" "I came here to get my life together after college." We talked informally along the way. I knew that this child was smart and had her own ideas, even though she was only a kid. She was very enthusiastic about her work and hope for the future. I hadn't seen that kind of pure energy in a long time. "President Chan, we're here." The car stopped at my apartment building. "Thank you for the ride." I answered, "You're welcome, President Chan," as I unbuckled my seatbelt. Francesca turned to gaze at me. Her eyes sparkled in the dark. "President Chan," she said quietly, "are you alone now?" Gathering her courage. I stopped for a moment, and then I understood what she meant. I glanced at her face, which was full of I was nervous and excited, so I stopped talking for a moment and shook my head. "I don't want to start another relationship right now." Francesca's eyes lost their sparkle. "Oh, I'm sorry, President Chan. I was too forward." "It's okay," I said with a smile. "You're a good girl. You deserve someone better." With that, I opened the door and stepped out. I let out a soft sigh as the white Beetle drove away into the darkness. I wasn't a saint who didn't want anything. It would be a lie to say that I didn't feel anything when I was with such a loving, honest, and proactive girl. But I was scared. Scared that I would make the same mistakes again. Scared that my honesty would be betrayed again. Maybe I really needed a long time to get over the pain that Daniella had caused me. Chapter 14 days went by, and Alcade Group continued to do well under my supervision. Between Francesca and me, we kept an adequate distance without saying anything. She was still the hard-working, ambitious intern. Every time she saw me, she called me President Chan with respect, and I would sometimes give her advice at work. We both knew what we could and couldn't do, and we never crossed the line again. Until one day, when I unintentionally heard there are whispers going around the office that Francesca is trying to seduce President Chan. Yes, that's right. She's just a new intern. Doesn't she know her place? A toad fantasizing of eating swan meat. I heard that she regularly uses working late as an excuse to get close to President Chan on purpose. Last time she even drove her old Beetle to take President Chan home. How rude. Doesn't she know what kind of man he is? Like he would ever look at someone like her. I stood at the pantry door, and my face got darker right away. I didn't think that one chance meeting between Francesca and me would turn into something like this. What made me even more angry was how mean and hateful their statements were. I opened the door and went inside. When I walked into the pantry, the few female employees who had been chattering stopped talking and became pale. "Chan. President Chan." I didn't listen to them and walked to the water cooler to get a drink of water. Then I turned around, looked at them, and said in a harsh voice, Alcade Group does not need employees who create stories and cause problems. You few, go to HR tomorrow and turn in your resignations. I turned around and went, leaving them standing there with pale faces. That afternoon, I called Francesca into my office. She seemed a little nervous and didn't know why I had called her. Sit down, I urged, pointing to the chair. Francesca, have you heard some of the rumors going around the office? Her cheeks turned scarlet right away. She bowed her head and spoke so softly that it was hard to hear.